We're back with the Screen Team. We're almost finished for this edition of the show, but we got one more review to do. And this next review is a review of a 2014 movie, which is a horror film. It's also got some thriller scenes in there. It's got suspense in there. It's got a lot to it. We're talking about the Babadook. The Babadook. How does that voice go? Babadook. Babadook.
You do it better than I
That scared me, man. I don't know about you guys, but that scared me. I was like, go away, Babadook. So this is supposed to be a horror film. My first question to you guys is, did this movie scare you?
Yeah, I thought it was creepy. I thought it had a lot of, atmosphere to it, and it really built to a climax at the end. It's very suspenseful, like The Shining, so I don't know that everybody's going to find it that scary, especially if you have a trouble connecting with the two main characters. A lot of people I've talked to have.
Yeah.
They find the kid annoying, they find the mom, unrelatable, and that can hurt your chances of enjoying a movie, or it can also kind of take you out of the fear factor. It can remove suspense for you if you don't care about the characters, but I loved it.
Jenna, were you scared?
I absolutely was. I love suspenseful horror movies, though, and so I'm scared when I'm like backing up into the couch, covering my face, going, "Oh no, just holy crap!" So, yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it.
Matt, you mentioned the characters, and I guess I was on the other side of the fence of other people. I thought those two characters were riveting.
Oh, see, I thought they were too.
Yeah.
I really did. You had the mom, who was Amelia Vanek, I think was her name in the movie.
Yes.
She was unbelievably good.
She was
one of the best horror performances I think ever. I mean, it's up there with
the
ladies in The Exorcist. It's up there with Anthony Perkins in Psycho, Jack Nicholson in The Shining, Anthony Hopkins and Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
So
from the very beginning, you can feel her anxiety, her depression, her fearfulness of her son and the situations around her son, and with this creature called the Babadook, which is a children's story,
but a very creepy children's story. It's like if Where the Wild Things were written by a sadist. It's very, very dark as a children's story. And it just appears on their doorstep one day. Or not their doorstep, but just in her son's bookshelf. And he wants to read it. She's given him the option to. She realizes it's scaring him. And then she tries to dissuade him from finishing the book. And he's like, well, you let me choose. And she's the kind of mom that will not say no. And I think that's part of the reason why. And part of that's also because she resents her son. Her son was born the day that her husband died. Actually, died driving them to the hospital so that she could give birth to the son. And so she wants to love this son, but she resents him so much, and she's constantly fighting with him. That's part of the anxiety and part of her depression. Yeah. So she's just as scarred as her son is. Her son, who has a mother that is almost incapable of loving him, and so she just caves into him with almost everything, and he's a kid that's deeply disturbed. Yeah. And a reason why a lot of people find his character annoying is and that's how a kid that's that psychologically disturbed will act.
Yeah,
I've worked with a lot of kids that are like that, and they have so much, and they're good, but they on the surface they're really hard to work with and to be around because they don't have discipline, and a lot of times they have something that's far beyond just basic discipline from a parent. You know, they don't have a regular home life.
When I was watching this film, and don't take this the wrong way, I mean this with the utmost respect. That kid was creepy.
Yes, he was.
Just,
he looked kind of like the Babadook. It's almost like they modeled him after the kid a little bit.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Babadook. I don't want to give too much away, but you know what? Let's just throw a spoiler out there in case you do want to see it and you haven't seen it yet. So, spoiler alert. You don't see much of the Babadook in this film.
No. You see more in the book, the cartoon drawings of him,
right?
The illustrations, than you do.
Was that a turn off or a turn on for you guys?
Turn on.
Yeah,
turn on. Really?
Yes.
So the less is more.
Yes, it adds more suspense to it.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it does. Well, and you don't have the disappointment of him not living up to your expectations.
Right.
It's what lives in the shadows that's really more terrifying. It's what your imagination does, and that's I think this film capitalizes on that expertly.
Yeah.
And the practical effects are fantastic too. There's a part in the movie where all the scenes, like the walls are being torn apart from the Babadook, and this final epic climax in the film. And without giving too much away, but the practical effects were just jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
How well they were doing everything. I imagine they probably shot some things in reverse, but the way that they pulled it off, it felt like you're right there in the room with them and the monster.
I was also impressed with the set design, because not only are you're in their world of depression, the mom and the kid and stuff like that, but their entire household is gray walls.
Yes.
And everything is dark. There's not a lot of brightness and sunshine in their life.
And you could tell that was probably a house that was pretty at one point.
Yeah.
You know, it had like a nice classic vintage sort of home look to it, you know, almost like a Cape Cod style house. It's set in Australia, so it may be a little bit different, you know, like an Aussie take on the Cape Cod, but it had a classic look to it. It's just, it looked, and just like with the life that was once happy, it's now covered in gray.
Right.
So there's a lot of symbolism. It's bursting at the seams with metaphors, and it's such a great allegory for depression and how it's something you can almost never really get rid of.
Right. I have a question for you guys, but I'm going to ask it after we get done because I don't want to get it's about the ending. There's a cool little thing that happens at the end. So if you guys watch it, the last scene to me was like, okay, I don't want to talk about it. So we'll just see about is this a horror movie that you guys could watch over and over again, or is once enough?
When you asked us to do this review, we were like, yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've been looking for an excuse to watch such a creepy horror movie in the middle of summer,
you
know, and stuff. So, and I'm not sure when this will air, but, you know, that's when we first watched it in winter, and we watched it again during the summer break. And it's just one of those movies that it's not as, like, thematic as Halloween, so you're not going to watch it for fun. This is an experience, and it's a very, very dark movie. It's... again, it's like The Shining. It's just such an uncomfortable movie to watch. So you may not find it scary, but, you know, that's kind of relative. But it definitely is unnerving, and it's very uncomfortable to watch throughout. Very suspenseful, and again, it's just kind of an experience.
Yeah. Jenna, Matt hit on this a couple of times throughout the interview, but do you think if you are a fan of horror, are you going to like The Babadook?
I think it depends.
Okay.
Because I like horror, but I don't like jump scares. I like suspense. So for me, this was an awesome movie. Ranks up there with The Shining for me. I could watch those two probably every month and not get tired of them.
So if people are expecting like slasher type horror, this is not what this is, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single jump scare, to be honest with you, which I like. Some movies utilize them very well, like the first Halloween, like The Exorcist, but most of them have really overused that to the point where it's like you don't even jump because it's scary. It's more because your ears are bleeding from the volume in the theater.
Right.
You know, in this, there's none of that. It's the music isn't like amplified whenever something pops up on screen. It's more cerebral. It takes its time, and it's very confident in its pace.
Yeah.
You know, it might be too slow for some, but I think if you can really get immersed in the story, it's excellent.
All right. The movie is called The Babadook, and you can find it on DVD. Matt, Jenna, thank you guys for coming in. Appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
We'll have another edition of the Screen Team coming at you next Saturday at 6 p.m. For Matt, Jenna, and Chris, we are the Screen Team, and we want you to know before you go.